going back now, we've seen that we've talked about HTML, right? We have talked about how many elements, talked about 3 elements in HTML, majorly p tag, h1, and image tag, right? Now, I'm going to move into talking about CSS. Sorry, give me a minute. I need to plug in my laptop. Let me just quickly do that. Just give me 1 moment so I can plug my laptop. Continue the session. Give me 1 moment. All right. Can everybody hear me now? Can you all hear me now?
Yes, I can.
Yeah,
Alright.
go ahead.
I can
So
hear you.
moving on to the next thing, we have CSS, right? What does CSS stand for? CSS stands for Cascading Style Sheet. Now, why is CSS important? CSS is called Cascading Style Sheet, and its function refers to as CSS. It is a simple design language intended to simplify the process of making web pages representable. Now, if you look at the web page created, we don't have text, we don't have colors, we don't have anything. We just have pictures and it is blank, right? So CSS handles the look and feel part of the web page. Using CSS, you can control the color of text, the style fonts, and the spacing between paragraphs, how columns are sized, how they are laid out, what background images or colors are used, layout, design variations in display for different devices, and screen sizes as well as a variety of other effects. So CSS describes how HTML elements are to be displayed on a screen, paper, or in other media entirely. Why do we use CSS? CSS is used to define the styles for your web page, including design, layout, variation, and other things, right? Now, we also have a syntax, the same way we have a syntax for writing HTML. We also have a syntax for writing CSS, right? And the syntax for writing CSS goes thus, right? So CSS comprises of a set of rules or a style rules that are interpreted by the computer, right? And then applying to corresponding elements in your document. A CSS style rule consists of a selector, and the deceleration block, right? So now, look at this syntax we have in the diagram, sorry. Now you can see we have the H1. H1 is selector, then we have the color. So now, we're trying to style our H1 elements. That is what we're trying to do in this image here, right? So we have our selector, which is H1. We have the declaration, right? Now, declaration is color. Now, inside declaration, we have property and value, right? So the declaration is declaration has property color, right? And color has the value. We are giving the value blue, right? So our property value is blue, right? Anyway, what we're saying is that we want the property or the color of our text to be blue, and we're giving it a font size. Now our font size is under property, so we have properties and values, right? Our property, we're saying the value is 12 pixels, right? Meaning that our H1 element should have a value of 12 pixels. Now, if you now want to see this come to play, now let me move back to my Visual Studio Code screen so that we can see that come to play. So now you can see that in my HTML, I have style.css created, right? Now I want to style my H1. So let me just do this, right? So I want to style my H1, right? Now what do? I first call out the H1, just the same way they did in the picture we had on the slide, right? So I do H1 and I do this. Sorry. And I do this, right? Now inside my H1, what do I do? Sorry. Okay, so now inside my H1, what do I do? I want to give it a property, right? I want to color it, right? So I can just say color. You can see that my Visual Studio Code automatically brings out suggestions for me, right? it automatically brings out suggestions to make my work very, very easier, right? So I'm going to say, sorry, give me a minute. I'm going to give it color. This is not supposed to be happening. Okay. So I'm going to give it color. I'm going to say blue, right? So let me give it the color blue. Now I want to give it a property. I want to give it a font size. So I'll give it a font size of 40 pixels. Now let's go back to check my output, right? My browser output. What do we have here? Now going back to my output and reloading this, we have what? Sorry, I think there's an error somewhere. Give me a minute to find that out. Sorry, hold on. Let me upgrade the pixels. Okay, I think I know what's happening, right? Okay, so let me go back to my Visual Studio Code screen. Now, my CSS, I just figured out my CSS has not been linked to my HTML. And if it is not linked, it will not show. So now for me to link my CSS, I will just come here and do link real style sheet, right? And you can see that I'm just going to do style.css. Now, if I go back to my browser, right, which we're going to do now, is everybody following me? So you can see that we've changed our text to blue. How did we do that? Can anybody tell me? How were we able to do that?
Mm, You link the CSS into the HTML.
Yes. Eventually, we were able to style or add colors to our web page because we used CSS, right? So it thereby buttresses our point in my slide saying CSS is used for styling HTML content, right? So, and we have different types of CSS, right? There are three ways of inserting our style sheets to our HTML, right? We have the external CSS. External CSS with an external styling sheet, you get to change the look of an entire website by just changing one file, right? An external CSS can be written in any text editor. That was what I just did now. I wrote my CSS externally and I linked it to my CSS, right? I linked it to my HTML. We can also do it by writing in our internal. We can also do it by writing internally, right? Internally, right? An internal style sheet can be used instead of one single HTML page that has a unique style. The internal style is defined with the style element. So meaning that you can write your CSS inside your HTML, right? It is not recommended, but it is possible. So inside the ID, inside the space where you have your HTML, you can write your CSS also there. It's just that it's going to make your code clumsy and scattered, right? So also we have inline CSS. Inline CSS may be used to apply a unique style for a single element, right? So now when you're trying to target a single element, right, and that's when you can use your inline CSS, right? To use inline CSS, add the style attributes to relevant elements, and the style attributes can contain any CSS property, right? So now we have examples or use cases of CSS, right? We have the inline CSS here. We have the external CSS. Can anybody determine the difference between the two? Between the two images we have here? Anybody? Does anybody know the difference between the two images we have there?
Let me try.
All right, try.
So I think for this external CSS, you do it in a separate, like you create a folder for the external CSS.
Yes.
Then this inline CSS, it's done. Okay, this inline CSS, I think it's done like in the text,
Yes,
like
yes, you're
like
very, very correct. It is done inside your HTML. Now we have HTML code, we have CSS code, right? So but your inline is done inside your HTML code on the same line with your HTML code. That is what we call inline CSS. I just wanted to know if you all are following me, right? So, moving on to the next thing, right? We have moving on to the next thing, we have. Sorry, give me a minute. Right. So now we have the characteristics of CSS. It is easy to maintain. Changing a single place will affect globally your website. Can affect everywhere globally in your website. No need to change every specific place. It is time saving. It makes your work very, very easier, right? CSS is supported by the majority of our browsers, right? Selectors, we have a lot of selectors and ID selectors and class selectors that are helpful to perform specific tasks. CSS basically just beautifies your website, right? So I have a definition I used to define HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, right? I always tell people HTML is the structure of your web page, right? And I always use this example of a structure, right? A building. Let's say you're trying to build a two-bedroom bungalow, right? Now, you have when you're building, right? You have done the foundation, you have done the all of that. You have put blocks right now. When you see just a building with just blocks, right? No plastering, no painting, right? That is called a structure, right? Because it is not complete yet, right? So that is what I call HTML. HTML is just the structure of your web page without any paintings or anything. It is just blank, right? Now, when you add CSS to your web page, that is when you begin to add styling and all of that, right? And your house becomes to look beautiful. Is that correct? Is that correct? So your house begins to look beautiful, right? Then now you now have JavaScript. JavaScript comes in when you have your function, right? When you turn on a switch or when you press a switch or when you press a button and you get a response right now. You turn on your light switch and light comes on, right? That's the function. And JavaScript is responsible for it. Now, if I want to believe that now everybody understands the basic between HTML and CSS. Is that correct?
Yes. Yes.
All right, perfect. So basically, right, for this master class, I want you to understand that you know the basics of HTML and CSS, right? So if anybody comes to introduce HTML and CSS to you, you should basically understand the fact that it should not be new to you, right? You should be able to tell the person one or two things about what's it called now. You should have one or two things to say about HTML, right? Is that correct? Is that correct? I think it's only Ephraim that is speaking. Hi, Amy. Hi, Nanji. Hi, Gideon. Are we on the same page? Hi, everyone. Can you all hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Proceed, sir.
Okay, perfect. All right. So I think I just have one more thing to touch according to this slide, because I deliberately made this slide not to with, uh, go through a lot of things, right? So, let me see. All right. So let's do a quick more. Let's try to use the main next 2 minutes to talk about some other elements in HTML. Right? So we have a lot of HTML elements, right? Not just what's it called, right? Not just H1P tag and our image tag, right? Now, if you look at our output, you can see that we have. Let's go back to our. You can see that our image is very, very big, right? So now we can try to reduce it, right? How do we reduce it? We had an item width. So let me go back to share my whole screen, right? You can add an item width. So now I can come here and say width and say 300 px, and I can say height. I can say height.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, I'm very sure you're enjoying your classes, but we'll be ending our breakout room and we'll close all breakout room in.
All right, thank you, Damiela, for that. Hey, everyone, can you still hear me? Hello, please, I want to make sure you're hearing me. Hello. I'm so sorry about that. I think network kicked me out again. So let me share my screen again so that we can finish. I heard Damilola said we broke out from the closing now. So let's just finish resizing my image, right? So let me share my screen again. Okay. Let me share. All right, so we have our height, and I can see our height should be 500 pixels, right? So let me just do 500. Let's just do 500 px, right? So now, if you come to our browser, you would see that. Let me go back to our browser. You can see that our image has reduced very well, right? That's reduced to the barest minimum. Can everybody see my screen? So you can see that you can also resize your image, do a lot of things in HTML. So this is where we'll be stopping for today. So please endeavor to join Simfix if you can, so that we'll be able to teach you more on front-end development and you can start a career in front-end development. Is that good by everybody? Is that good by everybody?
Yes, yes.
Yes,
All
yes,
right.
it's okay, it's good.
All right. Thank you very much. So you can go back to the breakout rooms now. So I'll just leave this place and move back to the breakout room.